Alastair, thanks very much for joining us. For those that don't know, just give us a quick introduction to Memery Crystal.
So Memery Crystal is a London-based law firm, city law firm, and we act in our real estate department for a range of developers, finance, for occupiers, and for people right across the real estate sector.
And you've recently been working with the British Council of Offices on some new research on the future of the office markets, focused on the UK, but of course it's a topic that's of interest around the world. What were the key takeaways for you, Alastair?
Well, I think what the pandemic's done is kind of really bring into focus something we were thinking about before and what we worked with the BCO and the authors of this report with on before, which is what is space all about? Why do people use space? Why do we need space? And the pandemic, of course, brought people suddenly into their homes and precluded them from office space. So we thought it was the right thing to do to ask the question, what is office space doing? And really, the major point I'd say is, there is far more talk now about what did the office ever do for us and when do we need to use the office? When do we need to collaborate? What kind of space do we need? Now, we kind of know, we're assured of the fact that after this pandemic, we've got to be together. We need to coalesce. The idea of the office being dead as an argument was, I think, killed very early on in the pandemic as people got fed up with Teams and Zoom calls all the time. And so therefore we kind of move on to the next phase is what as part of the economy does real estate do? What does occupation kind of really mean and how should it be paid for and how should it be utilized? And what we're seeing amongst our clients, both occupiers and investors, is that people are wanting to make the space work for people. They're having to up their game as to what it offers and how good it is. And it has to talk the right language of how people are occupying, because I think people at all levels now, in all types of business, now have asked the question what they need space for. It was in the past quite binary. How much space do we need? How much square foot do we need per person? Now it's how much square foot do we need for this activity, for that activity, as well as where do we need it for how long and on what terms. So this report really kind of is a collaboration which has been ongoing for some time, but really brings to the fore all of these thoughts that I've just talked about there.
And it's interesting that there's a great deal of focus on work from home, but actually very little focus at the moment on the regulatory side and how this might impact both employees and companies.
Well, I mean, you're quite right in saying that at the moment, because we've kind of been in quite novel territory over lockdown, that these things haven't been really debated. But from a real estate and particularly from an employment perspective, as the paper shows, there are really numerous things to kind of pick up on. Everyone knows that how IT works, how GDPR works, employer-employee relations, etc., having a safe place of work, all those things are as relevant now as they were before, and they've been transplanted into a kind of new place. Equally, there will be, from a real estate perspective, this whole question as to when people should be in the office and what they should be doing in the office, what their expectations are for the use of that space. So this is exciting, I think, for us as lawyers, because we've basically been using and implementing laws which have been stuck in time, I suppose, over since feudal times and our reflection of our own kind of political, historical nature in this country. Now we've got this kind of breaking free, as far as we see it, of how people look at space and how they occupy it. And of course, law and regulation is a key part of that.
It's going to be really interesting to see how this develops, both in the UK, but also in Europe and across the world. Thanks very much for joining us, Alastair.
My pleasure, Richard.